When I say the word fangirl, what image comes to your head? Do you immediately picture a girl at a concert screaming her heart out over the pretty boy on stage? Do you picture a girl curled over a book that was the biggest hit on BookTok, huffing and puffing in a comically grotesque way? Do you picture an unkempt, acne-prone social outcast? Or do you just picture the modern 2024 girl who retweets fan art from time to time, likes to read sometimes, and is just like perfectly normal and chill? You know what? I bet some top dollars that when I say fangirl, you pictured one of the first three and most likely did not picture the last one, okay? The term fan has had a history of having a pretty negative connotation, with the extension fangirl one upping that with an even worse reputation. A trail of shame following the word wherever it was spoken. Though, in the good year 2024, I find the term itself has lost its popularity and it's not like used as much anymore, but instead, the terminology has evolved depending on the fandom the fangirl resides in. However, the same cannot be said for the shame. In the present day, fandoms exist now on like TikTok and Twitter, and with how much media there is being churned out these days, and with the stay-at-home crisis forcing everyone to live online for a while, it's honestly no wonder that being in a fandom and becoming a stan of something is just like kind of common now. It's no longer seen as some weird socially outcast thing to do to like anime, for example. Like guys, anime is more mainstream now. Isn't that crazy? What world are we living in, okay? So as I was thinking and pondering about the modern day version of the fangirl, I considered that because she has evolved so much and the fandoms that she is in has evolved so much and that she's technically more normalized, that we hopefully grew as a society and that the internet's larger sentiment towards the fangirl would reflect that evolution. Well, no, actually, what if it's gotten worse? How has it gotten worse if that's true? How has it gotten worse since the days where the term fangirl was first invented? Is the shame we gave the Beatles fangirls in the 60s the same we are giving to our fangirls on BookTok and other communities? How were fangirls treated back in the day versus today? Has anything changed? Are we gonna do anything about it? Is there anything to do about it? We're gonna answer those questions now. Hey, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is E. E as in empty. Knock knock, no one's home, girl. And let's talk about the fangirls, the stans, the cringe, sexuality, and society. I've rewritten this intro like 4 times now. I'm kind of losing my mind, okay? But I think we've got a winner. Also, girl, if I look like I'm about to offer you Turkish delight in exchange for your entire family, please don't say that in the comments, okay? I'm going for moon goddess. Please like and subscribe because I'm asking so nicely. And also join us on twitch.tv/eissocial to hang out some more. Okay, we're diving in. I am so excited for this video. Okay, let's go. But while we are getting settled, let's all take a second to reflect. And to help us in this moment of self-reflection, we could turn to our sponsor, BetterHelp. Okay, first of all, stop. Okay, hands off the keyboard. Let me speak. I know BetterHelp has been in some hot water lately, made worse due to the mix of misinformation and exaggeration on the internet. That stuff happening on the internet, who would have thought? I want you guys to know that I did some serious research that I've also included in the description below before making any decisions to work with them. Because, like you, I'm sure, I was told a lot of things that turned out to not be fully true. So, before anyone starts saying anything, read the resources in the description. If you haven't researched for yourself, I don't want to hear from you. Form your own opinion and then hear what I have to say. It's again important to do your own research and not listen to what a friend of a friend of a friend said online, okay? So, hear me out. Girl, I'm mentally ill. And in 2020, during the stay-at-home crisis, ooh, it was dire. It was in this time that I actually reached out to BetterHelp. And I do not say this lightly, it was a milestone in my journey to get help for my mental health. Because at that time, I just could not believe that I had anything diagnosable. I thought to myself that I'm pretending, or I was just sensitive. I was just weak. But by actually making that decision to get help, honestly guys, it helped me so much. The therapist that I met was so lovely and she helped me so much. She validated so much of what I was feeling, and she, as a professional, told me that it was okay and that I'm not weak. And you know what? Fast forward 4 years later, I'm the best I've ever been. And girl, BetterHelp is the reason why I started on this path. So if you don't know, BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. You can meet with them via messaging, phone call, or video chat on your phone or computer. Honestly, whatever works for you. BetterHelp matches you with a vetted professional, usually within 48 hours after you answer a few questions on their website. And you can switch your therapist at any time until you find the person perfect for you and your needs and who vibes with you correctly. The mission of BetterHelp is to make finding a therapist easier, and that's what they did for me. They make it easier and quicker, and oftentimes it's more affordable than finding an in-person therapist. So heed my words, okay? If you are like how I was and hesitant, scared, worried, or just angry at yourself about mental health, BetterHelp is such an easy, lovely service to get that process started. So use my link, betterhelp.com/eissocial, to get 10% off your first month of therapy and to get the ball rolling. More information is down below. So thank you guys for listening. And also thank you so much to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. This sponsorship is kind of a cool full circle for me. Okay. Back to yelling at the camera in an emotionally stable way. Okay, so let's backtrack a little, shall we? Let's go back all the way to the 1800s. This is old, okay? Fun fact, the word fan is derived from the word fanatic and was semi-surprisingly a word used to describe baseball fans who were like really into baseball in the 1880s, who were also predominantly men, which is an interesting factoid I just want you to keep in your noggin. The first modern fandom recorded was the Sherlock Holmes fandom, actually, in the 1890s, the original BookTok girlies, if you were, where fans took to the streets in public gatherings to mourn Sherlock's death in 1893. He didn't actually die. K-pop's just too hard for that, okay, girl? Also, Arthur Conan Doyle saw that everybody was mourning Sherlock in the streets and was like, damn, I gotta bring this guy back. So that's kind of what happened. It is also to be widely accepted that the earliest modern fan fictions actually started to be written due to the fans' devotion to Sherlock Holmes at this time. I bet the yaoi in those early 1890s fan fiction went crazy. That's when modern fandom as we know it started to evolve from. Let's fast forward to the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, where the fangirl, as we know and love, now has taken the stage and started to truly blossom. In relation to fandom history, Star Trek's debut to popular culture in the 1960s was a monumental one, to say the least. The Star Trek fandom was and continues to be one of the most massive fandoms in history and really shaped how we interact with media today, with like cosplaying, conventions, and just geeking out, right? But also in the 1960s, the Beatles hit the scene. And much like how Star Trek started forming the basis of fandom, the Beatles fans started to define the basis of fangirls. The phenomenon was called Beatlemania, and this term was first coined in 1963 by British media, who tried to capture the pure mania that girl fans displayed while in the presence of the Beatles. These fangirls started something incredible, honestly. It was young women decked out in merch, screaming and hollering their lungs out at the chance of seeing their favorite Beatle member. Women were recorded trying to do anything to be able to see the boys perform. They would scream and jump up and down at the sight of them. They would act irrational and try to break into buildings to meet them. They would even sometimes throw underwear on stage in the 60s, okay? This website here holds a gallery of young women going absolute sicko mode over these men, okay? Here's a picture of a young girl sobbing her eyes out when she saw a glimpse of the band. Here we have fangirls climbing up to overcome the barricade made by police. Like it's f***ing World War Z. Like it's so serious. Like just to see the boys perform. It's honestly real. That's so real of them. So to say Beatlemania was intense is definitely definitely an understatement, okay? Lydia Dronsfield noted in her article, Why Are Fangirls Linked to a Stereotype of an Era Gone By? The comments we had in the 60s about these young women were nothing if not scathing. Dronsfield included a quote from Paul Johnson, who was the editor of The New Statesman in the UK during this time, who was championed by conservative parties and had plenty of opinions to go around. Did anyone ask, though? About the Beatles and their fans. When talking about the young women expressing their joy over the Beatles, he wrote, quote, "Those who flock round the Beatles, who scream themselves into hysteria, whose vacant faces flicker over the TV screen, are the least fortunate of their generation. The dull, the idle, the failures." Why I yada? You know, like, who asked? According to Vogue India's Hassani Jalani, Johnson got a lot of for this trash take back then. Good! It should have been me, okay? And it wasn't just the Beatles, okay? This hysteria happened for Frank Sinatra and Elvis Presley too, among plenty others. The sentiments held for those young women towards the end of the 1950s and the beginning of the 1960s matched the intensity of emotions that the girls displayed in the audience. Vox's Alexis Cheney writes in their feature on teenage girls and pop music about a quote from then reporter Mac Reynolds in 1957 about Elvis's show. Mac said, quote, "It is a frightening thing for a man to watch his woman debase themselves. Girls who screamed and quivered and shut their eyes and reached out their hands to him as for salvation, it's hardly original. But if any daughter of mine broke out of the woodshed tonight to see Elvis Presley in Empire Stadium, I'd kick her teeth in." Relax. It is a frightening thing for a man to watch his woman debase themselves. If my daughter did this, I would kick her teeth in. I hope he didn't have any daughters. I hope he's dead. Now, why was this such a phenomenon in the late 1900s, with women acting like how we act nowadays at concerts? It was unusual, okay? Women were and have been expected to be quiet, pure, a well-respected girl who should only be finding a man to marry and be able to take care of him and their kids. They were not encouraged to form an identity for themselves, to figure out what they like and don't like, to realize that Ringo kind of made them, you know, a little hot and heavy, okay? God forbid a woman experiences lust and desire, and so openly, so fucking loudly. The image of the girl screaming and crying directly contradicted the image that everyone wanted them to be. Cheney writes in their article, quote, "Daydreaming, screaming, and swooning for Sinatra allowed girls the opportunity to ignore the social pressures of the day, which told them they should be quiet and reserved and contain any and all sexual feelings and intense emotions. They could safely lose control without having to fear repercussions." The feeling of safely losing control is a very important part to that statement, since women who experience these outbursts historically have been deemed and treated much worse than just having a father say that he would kick his daughter's teeth in. I'm still not over that. That was crazy. That was actually crazy. Who let that man be a father? Anyways, the history of the word hysteria in particular, which is a term that Paul Johnson used in his quote, as well as plenty of other people when talking about fangirls, is so interesting because it was the leading scientific reasoning behind everything wrong with women that men could just not figure out, okay? For so long. Oh, girly pop was a little more irritated than usual? Oh, she's suffering from hysteria again, girl. Oh, she's sick? It's that damn uterus again. Oh, Miss Thing down the path is fatally ill with an incurable disease. Girl, that's just hysteria. That's what she gets for being a woman. Get her to a man, stat. He'll fix her right up. The term hysteria was deemed an actual psychological disorder in 1880 and only stopped being studied as such in 1980, where psychologists were like, maybe we should stop. Psychologists were thinking hysteria was a mental illness, okay? A woman just can't be silly nowadays because of woke. I mean, hysteria. So watching these women scream for their favorite singer and calling them hysterical, just know that the word has a lengthy history of insane levels of misogyny, okay? There is power in a word, and this word is charged with a lot. But because of these screaming, hysterical young women, the Beatles reached monumental heights of success. Frank Sinatra is a legend. Elvis Presley, an absolute hit. Of course, there were some girls who took it way too far and were then made poster ladies for this unruly, hysterical behavior. But a lot of the time, it was just girls screaming, crying, and expressing their joy in loud and unattractive ways. And because of them, now it's customary to scream your heart out at a concert, and if you don't wake up the next morning with your voice a little gone, then you did not do it right, okay? Music, pop music, fandom, fangirls were forever changed. And these ladies were the reason why. Now, dear listener, please note that this was a very racially based thing, okay? This phenomenon usually only occurred within white communities, but that is a whole nother subject. We'll be here all day. So, why the history lesson, okay? We are talking about women in fandom today. All of this talking about kicking their daughters' teeth in for being rowdy, calling girls the failures of their generation for crying over John Lennon. All of this happened 60, 50 years ago, okay? Girl, it is 2024, okay? Surely, the sentiment we hold towards fangirls, towards women in fan spaces expressing their sexuality has gotten better, right? Right? Oh, well, no, it hasn't. So you may remember that I mentioned earlier this article by Dronsfield that pointed out that awful quote from Mr. Paul Johnson about Beatlemania, right? Unfortunately, this quote was also paired with another quote from GQ writer Jonathan Heath from 2015, over 50 years after Johnson's, where, when talking about One Direction, said this: "By now we all know the immense transformative power of a boy band to turn a butter wouldn't melt teenage girl into a rabid, knicker-wetting banshee who would tear off her own ears in hysterical fervor when presented with the objects of her fascinations." He continues in his reporting at a One Direction concert, quote, "Inside the venue, a hormone bomb has gone off. 20,000 females all turning themselves inside out, some almost literally, to the sight of the band." Nice job, Heath. You know, something tells me that if Mr. Heath went to, say, a football game where grown men were yelling and throwing popcorn over touchdowns and then threw a riot in the streets afterwards over a scoreboard, the words banshee, rabid, and hysterical, would not be the words used. Okay, but this is from 2015. Girl, that's almost 10 years ago. And also, it was a quote from some dude from GQ magazine. Man, who cares? Who reads that anymore anyway? The way of online fandom has evolved since even then. The members of our own fan communities ought to be better than this guy, right? Spoiler alert, I don't think so. Let's look at 3 online communities to see if that is the case, okay? To start off mildly, let's turn to fangirls in the anime community. Gatekeeping happens all over the community over the tiniest things, but fangirls in the anime community are, surprise, not taken seriously. Girl, we would be here for 10 years if I were to document hate towards anime fangirls, like how people just straight up don't believe Megan Thee Stallion for being a weeb. Like, shut up. That's our otaku queen. But the example I'll be focusing on to represent part of the anime community is the whole Gojo fangirls joke. If you are not aware, Jujutsu Kaisen is one of the most popular animes right now, and with how popular anime is becoming, there are even more Western eyes on it. One of the main characters, Gojo, is hot. Okay? I'm so sorry. What are you gonna say? He's not? He totally is, okay? You're lying to yourself if you think he isn't. I'm more of a Nanami girl, but I can recognize hot-ass Gojo when I see one, okay? He's hot, okay? And he's like the most powerful, for sure. No spoilers, okay? You know what? Girlies online and on TikTok, well, let's just say this was their Beatles, okay? Fangirls online would express their attraction towards Gojo to the point where, yeah, some of them went wild with what they said, but honestly, the comments I've seen from Gojo fangirls, average Tuesday on an anime girls subreddit from male fans, so I don't want to hear it. But I would see TikToks poking fun at comparing Gojo fangirls to obsessed psychos. Hysterical. Saying that they were horrors to witness. Saying water couldn't penetrate the stench of an average Gojo fangirl. Some say fangirls are wrong for sexualizing him and not appreciating his character enough, and that 99% of them are insane. They're just enjoying him for the wrong reasons. Okay, so first of all, listen, all right? I have in the past noted how often male fans sexualize female characters and draw them in very sexual ways, and how each girl character acts the same in these explicit drawings. So I would be a huge hypocrite if I said it was just all 100% in good fun and not that serious when fangirls do something similar, all right? So I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. I think people should just enjoy their fiction as they want. But I see guys being super weird and strange about female characters, but the second a bunch of women start creating that exact energy about a guy character, now we can make fun of them and make it a meme, right? Right now we can shame them. Because yeah, it is not that serious. But with the past that we have as a society, that having the knee-jerk reaction of hating and shaming when a group of women start expressing their sexuality and giving a name to them to further make fun of them, Gojo fangirls are weird, it's just a little off to me, okay? It's giving the same reaction to the Beatlemania fangirl. It's the same thing, okay? Let's move on to the gaming community, where you see this all the time, all right? I make a lot of content surrounding Genshin Impact because I'm a fan girl, okay? So I am in that community, okay? And oh boy, do I have words? Being in the gaming community and being in the Genshin fandom, the side of the fandom who is mostly female and or queer is often mocked by the more masculine side of the fandom. In Genshin Impact, we have a crap ton of characters, okay? Each with their own backstory and personality. The transformative side of the fandom, the predominantly female and or queer side, loves to draw fan art, write fan fiction, and imagine how these characters interact with each other when they are not on screen. Zhongli and Child, a very popular pairing within this side of the fandom, where fans love to imagine how intimate these two men get with each other. Even if they haven't interacted on screen for like over 2 years, they're still in the lead. The majority of the popular ships or relationships in this fandom are queer male ships, aka yaoi ships. And fangirls love their yaoi, let me tell you, okay? I actually made a whole video on the fujoshi community, which is a derogatory term for women who consume love stories between two queer men, okay? And definitely go watch it if you're interested. In that video, I mentioned how women who consume queer men romance stories do it for like a plethora of reasons. A lot of times, it's not as insidious as people want you to believe. Women like these kinds of stories or ships because it can often act as a safe way to express their sexuality. Yaoi is very prevalent in the female queer side to fandom, and it's pretty prevalent in the Genshin Impact one too. Girl, we had a new character drop, Sethos, who had like a bickering type of voice line with an existing character, Wanderer, and the fandom screamed yaoi, okay? These two haven't even appeared next to each other in the actual story yet, but they technically have met according to their singular voice line about the other. And with how familiar we are with Wanderer's personality and with Sethos's, the fandom had a field day imagining how their friendship or relationship would play out. And you know what? By God, it is good yaoi, okay? It is. But, of course, the male side of the fandom loves to make fun and shame the feminine/queer side. We have very popular male content creators calling the shipping side crazy and fanatical. Remind you of something? They like to yell R slurs at shippers for being too shipping obsessed. How these fangirls can't see two characters interact in any way without thinking there is romance involved. They are ruining the damn game. They yell at shippers and call them delusional for shipping, say like Beidou and Ningguang, as if there isn't mountains of subtext and queer coding and implication that, yeah, there is something gay happening with those two. But the fangirls think it's queer? What a waste of time. What a stupid thing to focus on. Oh no, women expressing their sexualities through fanfiction and playing with the intricate lore of these beautiful characters. Oh no, those crazy, bad, hysterical lunatics play the game for yaoi and yuri. not for real meta reasons like men. When a man plays Genshin Impact, it's to max out his stats, build the right characters, and get the highest scores and play the game correctly. But when a fangirl says she likes to play Genshin Impact, everyone moans and groans around her, right? She plays it for the wrong reasons, because she wants Alhaitham and Kaveh to smooch. She only builds the characters who are the hottest, and she has no idea what she's doing. But even if she is playing the game like this, guilty, then is that so terrible? Guys sometimes play the game based on the hot women, and they become waifu collectors. But when a fangirl does it and is a husbando collector, ooh, that's cringe, girl. You're not taking it seriously, and it's completely undermined. Her pastime of shipping is based on delusion and attraction for the male characters. Oh, but if a fangirl decides to leave Genshin Impact and play a more mainstream popular game like Call of Duty, then she's a poser. She's pretending to like it in order to get with a guy. Or she just does it to ship Ghost and Klong together, whatever his name is, and therefore she's ruining the game. Is it Klong or is it Kong? Hold on. Well played, Klong. Girl, like I care, okay? Like I give it. Female video game streamers get on all the time and accused for faking their gameplay. Like, can't a fangirl do anything? This conversation leads us perfectly to the discussion surrounding BookTok and how angry it makes me, okay? Oh, you think I'm angry now? Just you wait, girl. If you do not know, BookTok is a community on TikTok that reads books. That's it. They talk about their favorites, they recommend others, and they talk about all kinds of books. But it has unfortunately garnered the reputation that BookTok is illegitimate, frivolous, filled with fake readers, and with brain rot. Do you want to guess why this is the overall reputation of this community? Any takers? No? Bueller? I'll give you a hint. A large percentage of BookTok members are women, and a portion of BookTok, not all of it even, loves to read erotica books, and thus, this tweet that I showed earlier was born. Oh no! Women expressing their sexuality through fiction? Oh my god. They aren't enjoying literature right. Let's shame them immediately. In doing research for this portion of the video, I have seen a lot of pretty infuriating and irritating YouTube videos about how invalid this community is, how cringy it is, and the power of being a hater to discourage these women from reading trash. One YouTube comment said, quote, "I want a BookTok TikToker who's obsessed with spiced books to be tricked into reading the entire 6-book Dune series." Right? Get it? Get it? It's so funny because these ladies are so stupid, we have to trick them. Am I going insane? What is the big deal? Is the world ending? Are women creating communities online to read erotica together going to cause us to live in Junji Ito's Ramina manga? Is a being beyond our human comprehension going to swallow us whole? What is happening? Okay, let's get some things out of the way immediately, okay? You know what? Yes, some of the books and authors that have gained massive popularity due to BookTok girlies, well, they're trash, okay? They are. Colleen Hoover's books? They make me want to throw up and then clean up the spittle with a Hoover. Okay. Anyways, some are just like objectively bad books. Some also contain some pretty toxic depictions of romance and sexuality. The girls who don't have better intimacy education might confuse these fictional relationships as guidelines and tutorials. Though, dare I say, controversial opinion, I'm of the belief that, we shouldn't be shaming girls for confusing spice books as intimacy education instead of the entertainment that they are. We should be shaming the school system's lack of intimacy education, but that's a whole thing. So if we are talking about BookTok and we're talking about the issues with BookTok, I feel like that should be the main concern or issue that should be addressed, all right? Not that there is something wrong or stupid with these girls for enjoying those kinds of stories, okay? I'm not going to sit here and say that all of the books that are popular in BookTok communities are high literature or well-crafted works of depth and complexity, okay? Because some just straight up aren't, and some books actually deserve people to look look deeper into what the book is saying and going, maybe this is pretty distasteful for this and this and this reason, okay? This is probably bad, okay? I am not going to say that BookTok as a whole is free from criticism, right? Like every community on this planet has their ups and their downs, okay? There are gonna be some weirdos, there's gonna be some bad things. If your very first knee-jerk reaction to seeing a community of women excitingly talking about spice books is to immediately shame and critique them, what's wrong with you? The power of being a hater? How about the power of minding our damn business? How about that one? It's just, honestly, whenever women do anything, it's taken to the extreme. Like, let me be clear. There are trash books in the romance spice genre, but there are also trash books in the science fiction genre, in the mystery genre, in the classical genre. There's going to be trash every place you look, okay? It's just statistics. But why is it when women start consuming romance things, it's immediately looked down on and frowned about and shamed, as if the YA genre can't produce incredible books? Remember when everyone was on the Hunger Games, calling it just another YA book series with a love triangle in it? Girly pop, the Hunger Games is going to be considered a classic and taught in schools because of its ever-prevalent social commentary, discussions of war, propaganda, PTSD, and its warning of what could be, right? Donald Sutherland, rest in peace, like for real, who played the dictator President Snow, was adamant about how important this book series and movie series is for young people to wrap their heads around, since it will be us leading our nations in the future. So maybe, just maybe, let's not completely throw out the entire genre of YA, shall we? Out of this weird hatred of the entire young adult genre, Piper Hayes from their article on The Varsity makes a really good point at this hypocrisy. Quote, "When literary works get infantilized, so do their readers. Adults often criticized me when I read women-centric young adult novels, but then prodded me to read more complicated books. In high school, my teachers declared young adult novels written by women as off-limits in their classrooms for being not literary enough. At the same time, they allowed passes for YA novels written by men, such as James Patterson's ghost-written novels." Interesting! This experience and point is not unheard of, and is the exact same type of argument from BookTok naysayers today. Intermission! Everyone, you guys have to say hi to my doggy. Say hi to E-Dog. You gotta go back to mama, alright? Be free. People on the internet argue that these women need to just not only read spice and not only read young adult novels, they should consume a variety. And honestly, I agree with this. If the goal of these ladies is to fully explore the vastness of the literature world, then varying your intake is how you do that. But if they're just looking to have some fun and just kind of like these books just to get their mind off things, and they just want to talk about it publicly within a community and find it as a good outlet to safely explore their sexualities, then maybe let's not make 40-minute videos on how they are just enjoying literature wrong and how they're regressing. Why are we treating spice and erotica as some brain-dead, intelligence-sucking type of media that's so 1800s of you? Where are the video essays for the men who watch fan service anime 24/7? Why aren't they becoming a meme and having a wave of discussion on TikTok and YouTube videos making fun of them or whatever? Like, why isn't that causing ripples? Why aren't their communities getting picked apart and prodded and shamed and discussed and Girl, in this world, in this economy right now, I don't blame ladies who just want to turn their brains off. And also, do not put words in my mouth at all, okay? If you know me and my channel, I always encourage critical thinking, okay? Thinking for yourself, dissecting the media you consume, developing that skill of media literacy. I agree, we should be encouraging critical thinking, analysis, and literary skills because God knows everyone needs them, okay? Not just BookTok girlies. The very last thing we should be doing is monitoring and condemning young women for exploring their sexualities, since that has been done enough for decades. It's this immediate need to shame that I take ginormous issue with. A point to the benefit of this community existing is that a lot of BookTok girls are introduced to the world of reading through this community. My best friend is a part of this community, and she sends me reviews of the books she reads sometimes, and I ask her why she gave this one a 9 or this book a 7, and her responses back are so in-depth and thoughtful. But she always talks about pacing, characterizations, plot structure, underlying message, and style. They're all things that she brings up in our discussions. Instead of immediately making fun and shaming, why don't we just go, hell yeah. Thanks to BookTok, the publishing industry is on fire. We got bookstores popping off again. We got authors having their lives changed overnight because of these BookTok girlies. Sound familiar? They're reading. They're reading. We were so worried that bookstores were going to just die off because everyone's on their phones. And then our young people, our young women actually start reading. But it's not good enough? It's too sexual? How obscene, how hysterical of them. The shame of the fangirl has never gone away. We used to plug our ears to the joyous hollers of the Beatle fangirls, and now we've wondrously evolved to turning our nose up at the sight of a YA spice enjoyer BookTok fangirl, to scoff at the Gojo fangirl. Society didn't like it when girls were vocal for the first time ever about being attracted to Elvis, to Ringo, to Frank Sinatra. Refinery29's Alicia Lansome says in her article about misogyny towards fandom spaces, the pushing of purity culture may have softened since the days of Elvis the Pelvis, but the framing of young women's sexuality and their decision to exercise those interests publicly is still ridiculed under the guise of excessiveness. Women just do too much. That tweet I showed, the one where a girl shows off her bookshelf and someone pompously quote tweets with, "I'm an English literature major. I have the right to tell you you're not a reader, but a fictional corn consumer." It's such a good example of what I am talking about, because yeah, there are some spice books there. There's also some thrillers. The Book Thief, which is considered a modern classic, is also right there. We have a history spanning decades of shaming fangirls for being so open with their sexualities. So, when the immediate talking point of BookTok or Gojo fangirls or boy-on-boy shippers is to shame and make fun of and criticize, then yeah, I'm rolling up with the historical receipts, okay? I see people online get mad at the phrase, "just let people enjoy things." Don't you know that by saying the stupid you're saying, you're just following in the past's footsteps? The shadow that has blanketed women to cover up their sexualities is just getting darker and heavier because of you. Because you're just perpetuating the same discrimination that the old hag Paul Johnson said in the 1960s. You want to be like Paul Johnson? Back then we would call it hysteria. Nowadays, hysteria is no longer the word used, but has instead evolved with the times. You're not one of those crazy Gojo fangirls, are you? One of those crazy BookTok girls? Can't you guys do anything other than obsess with ships or only read too much spice? Stop acting crazy. Crazy for what? For having fun? It's the same tired old talking points. Where do we go from here? Well, first of all, how about we practice minding our business? Secondly, let's just stop ourselves if we feel the need to wave the finger of shame. All right, let's consider if we're just repeating history again. Then how about we just have a conversation? If you ask a girl what she likes to read and she says she likes Lucy Score books, maybe don't look at her with disgust and abject horror. Maybe hear her out. I don't know. And then talk about your favorite books, you know? Like a human being kind of conversation. Have a discussion over your opinions on how certain subjects are handled in the books. Share ideas, quotes, feelings. If a girl says she likes Jujutsu Kaisen, don't shame her for supposedly only liking it for Gojo. Talk about the real issues in these fandom spaces and stop using fangirls as some scapegoat. It's lazy. How about we try being kind? Because hasn't the shaming of the fangirl gone on long enough? Thank you so much for watching. I'm kind of still riled up. I get kind of riled up by this sort of stuff, but regardless, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and click on this video here if you want my thoughts about media literacy nowadays, and this one here for my Fujoshi thoughts that I briefly mentioned earlier. Clicking on more videos means I can show up more for you on your recommended. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I think this is a pretty interesting conversation if we're all nice, if you're just nice about it. I feel like this message is such an important point to drive home, because I find a lot of times online people have these takes to shame fangirls that express their sexuality like this as some sort of social activism. Like sexuality is thought as being so impure that it's almost the right thing to do, genuinely the right thing to do, to poke fun of and make fun of, BookTok girlies or Fujoshis or whatever. I just think videos like this need to remind everybody that you're regressing to conservative ideals. I feel like a lot of young people online like to think that they are very liberal, but oftentimes what they're saying online and being pretty critical of other people, it turns out to be way more conservative leaning than anything else. That's why I feel like this video of how we're just repeating the past is important. It's important. I think it's important because I need y'all to understand that not everything's that serious. You should join us over on twitch.tv/eissocial. We hang out, we play some games, and we have a lot of fun. Also, follow my socials, become a member on the Ko-fi here at ko-fi.com/eissocial, where if you become a member, you'll be able to see videos early, and also you get a shout out at the end of every single video, plus a special role on the Discord. So, without any further ado, let me thank our Ko-fi members. Thank you so much to Alienize, Jonah, Luel, Kaya, Luandrill, Joanne, IAK, Moon, Blue Crystal, Summers, Blue Ink Alchemist, and Pauline. Thank you guys so much for the support. It means so much, and I hope you're enjoying this video early. Hey guys. All right, I have been E. If I do not see you on Twitch, then I'll see you in the next one. Okay? Bye.
My name's Yuji Itadori, and I like women like Megan Thee Stallion.